All right, so we have lots of updates in this release, so let's go ahead and dive right into the agenda. As always, we are going to have platform demonstrations to show you exactly where you can find all of these features and how you can leverage them within Everlaw, as well as go over some of the newly available learning resources closer to the end of the session. All right, this release was packed with new features and updates to the following parts of Everlaw. So we've got the uploads are new and improved, search and data visualizer, document review, assignments, Everlaw AI, story builder, productions, as well as our org admin page. So I'm going to go through kind of each category and then tell you which features are related to these categories as we walk through this. All right, so let's get started with uploads. Our first update is related to metadata overlays. So metadata overlays, for those of you who are not familiar, allows you to change the metadata on your documents without needing to delete and upload the documents again. So you used to need the Bates and control number for a document to run an overlay, but now Everlaw allows you to perform metadata overlays using a unique metadata field as the document's unique identifier. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this actually looks like on the platform because I think that's a little bit easier. So I'll go ahead and head over to this homepage and then jump into my uploads. So when I'm running a metadata overlay, I'm going to do that by clicking on the processed option, and I'm going to choose document sets with a load file. So I already have a CSV ready to go that has a couple of things. One, it's got a column that represents the file path. That's what I'm going to be using as my unique identifier. And then I want to update the date field, one of the date fields for this document. So I have those two columns available within the CSV that I'm uploading. So I'll go ahead and start my upload and I'll drag that folder directly in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and select that. And now you can see I have the file path here, and then I have the date sent here. So these are the two columns that I uploaded within my CSV. And it's saying, hey, you don't have a begin Bates column. It's not found in your load file. That's correct. I didn't include that. Instead, I'm using this file path to identify my documents. And so what I'm going to say here is I want to add a custom identifier. I want to use that file path. So I'll go ahead and select that. And I'm going to select file path as my custom unique identifier. And then it's asking me how it looks on Everlaw, this particular metadata field. And so it looks exactly the same as it does in my load file as it does on Everlaw. So I'll go ahead and use the exact same titles there. And there we go. So file path is now my custom identifier for the documents in my load file. And so I can just continue on with the steps for a metadata overlay. So as I'm moving through, it'll say, hey, we found existing documents here, and I can just keep metadata selected and keep walking through that. So follow that as normal, but just know that now you don't need to use the Bates or control number as your unique identifier anymore. All right, cool. So now let's take a look at some of our search improvements. So from the search page, we have a few updates. So for those of you who use our AI tools, we have an extractions feature that allows you to extract information from documents through AI. And you can now search on those extracted values. So if you've, let's say, generated extractions for your documents, you'll be able to search on their content by finding the field name on the search page for that extraction. And you can see that in the image below. Additionally, if you are adding search terms to the search builder, the search button is always going to be selectable. So you won't need to actually click out of the content search for you to be able to see that search button appear. We've also improved our wildcard search handling to allow more complex wildcard searches. So when you're running a content search with multiple wildcard terms, you are less likely to encounter an error. You can see this on search term reports sometimes if you're doing those really complex searches that hit on a lot of different documents because they have too many potential hits. We've improved that so that you are less likely to see that. And then finally, when an RPMSG file, which is just an encrypted file that's from Outlook, is uploaded to Everlaw, we're now going to detect that email is flagged as encrypted. So we'll be able to flag that for you, and then you can find those encrypted files using the uploaded search term and the encrypted flag. I'm just going to show you really quick what this looks like on the search page. So I'll jump back onto the Everlaw project and I'll go ahead and click this magnifying glass right up here. And so now I can go ahead and click find a term up here. And when I add in my uploaded term, I'll see it in the flags over here on the right-hand side. I can actually look for encrypted. And then I'm able to find those documents that are encrypted. And so it looks like those came up in my search right here. Cool. Next, also within search, but in the data visualizer, you can now expand all of your subfolders in the file path visualization. So this is great if you want to quickly view the original folder structure for your documents before uploading them to Everlaw. So I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like on the platform. So jumping back over to our project, I'm going to go to the data visualizer just by clicking this document analytics button and going into the data visualizer. And then from here, I can see pinned on my dashboard the file path. So this is just the folder structure that my documents were originally uploaded in. I'll go ahead and click on this file path structure here. And so now I can see these outermost folders that were uploaded. And then when I hover over a folder, I can click expand all folders. And so when I click expand all folders, it'll just bring all of those folders out and expand them. I can collapse them by clicking this arrow right over here. To bring them back where they were. Maybe I want to do this for this A. Lewis folder as well. And so I can now see all of these folders expanded with one click. So I'll go ahead and collapse this, but really helpful if you're looking for a particular folder that was uploaded from your upload and you want to kind of follow that structure, but you don't want to have to click into each of those folders. You can just quickly expand all of the folders at once. All right, now moving on to document review. So let's take a look at those doc review features and updates. There are 2 updates to our reprocessing tool. So just FYI, reprocessing, for those of you who aren't familiar, it allows you to run your documents through the uploader again with a distinct or specific request without you needing to, delete the upload and upload them again. So it kind of just reruns your documents through the uploader. So first, if you work with handwritten documents, there is a new OCR option, which is optimized to capture English handwriting. So to do that, you can simply reprocess those documents that are handwritten. And you're going to select this Force OCR option, and then you'll see the option to use the one that is optimized for English handwriting. I'll note that this option only works for English handwriting, but for type text, this OCR option works for English, German, French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese, as you can see here. All right, the other feature for reprocessing is when you reprocess non-Everlaw processed documents, there's now an option to ignore the natives. So this option will instead reprocess off the image file instead of looking at the native. So this is helpful if you don't want to lose the bait stamp on your reprocessed image, or if your images maybe don't have a text layer and you want to add one to make your documents searchable. So both of these features are located in the results table through reprocessing. So let me just show you what that looks like for those of you who are unfamiliar. So I'll just go ahead and open up a set of documents here. So if I wanted to use those reprocessing options, I can just click this batch button right up here. It's just going to be reprocessing these documents in my results table. And then where you can find these two new features is in the advanced settings right here. And then you can scroll down all the way to this force OCR option. So if I click force OCR here, I'll be able to see the option to flatten and use OCR optimized for English handwriting. Now, if you're looking at documents that are not Everlaw processed, you are also going to see the option here to ignore natives as well. It'll be a checkbox that's visible. So let me just show you what that looks like. Cool. So I see the option here to ignore natives when reprocessing. So it'll just look at the PDF image of the document and won't look at the native to extract text to make that searchable. All right, great. Let's keep moving. So those were our features from the results table. So now let's talk a little bit more about a few more that we see within the results table. So you'll now see the option to add the coding history column, making it a lot easier to understand the review history of your documents at a glance from the results table. And you're also able to sort by the coded under and coded columns, which is great for organizing documents by their codes. You can also sort your results by binders now. So those are some new updates that are within the results table as well. Great. So next, let's talk about our assignments updates. Okay, first, so you now have the option to send a custom message when you're creating an assignment group. So you can change the subject of the message that you're sending or the message itself. So you'll see both of those options when you are creating an assignment. Also, users with assignment admin and assignment create permission will now have more robust access to the assigned search term. So folks with assignment admin permission will now be able to see a list of all users who have been assigned documents. So you'll see that list when you're running a search from the search page. And then finally, for those who are leveraging our AI coding suggestions, we now support using the suggested code in assignment group inclusion criteria. So if you're someone who's using those suggested codes, definitely recommend using this because you can dynamically add those documents to your assignment that have a particular code that's being suggested. All right, next, let's talk about the different AI tool enhancements that we've added in this release. So first, extraction fields and coding suggestions are now included as project templates. So for those of you leveraging AI tools, this is going to save you a ton of time setting up your new case so that it's ready to go a lot faster. Also, we have improved our case description for Everlaw AI. So we've unified the case description and the coding suggestions the case description for coding suggestions and for deep dive to speed up your AI project configuration. So the description for both features is now housed in the same place in project settings under the Everlaw AI tab. And that new case description field expands the total character count to a little over 16,000 characters. So just to show you where that lives, I'll go ahead and jump back onto this project and jump into the project settings. And I'll go into Everlaw AI. And I'll see this case description here. And so this is going to be used for coding suggestions and for deep dive. And finally, there's a new permission for coding suggestions. So project admins can now assign user groups configure permission for coding suggestions so that the project admin is not the only one who needs to update those coding suggestion descriptions. All right, next, let's talk about our story builder updates. Okay, first, for those of you using tables in Story Builder, you can now insert multiple rows and columns within those tables. So it'll look like this when you're in a draft or in a deposition. You'll be able to just click that 3-dot right here and then insert multiple rows or columns. Additionally, when you're filtering across labels within Story Builder, you're now going to see the option to distinguish between docs with any or all labels associated with your selection. So all is like the and operator. Every label must be applied for documents to appear in your results. And any is like the or operator on our search page, where the doc can just have one label applied to appear in your results. All right, and then a very small but mighty update to our productions tool. You can now sort your productions by coding categories and codes. And those codes are going to be sorted alphabetically in ascending order. But for those of you who need your productions sorted by the codes that have been applied to them, this is going to be very helpful. All right, also we have our updates to our org admin role. So first, if you are someone who's running legal holds, you now have the option to get a notification when custodians respond to the questionnaire. And also, when you are exporting projects, you'll be able to export the document history. So previously, a document's history could only be viewed in the review window's history tab and cannot be exported at all. So this is an important update if you need to audit the document history as well. So it's going to look like this upon export of your project. You'll see that document history is selected. Cool. So there are a few other features that we didn't go over today, including some visual improvements, all of which are listed in our release notes. So I'm just going to quickly link our release notes in the chat, just so that you have quick access to those. But here are some of those features that we didn't mention, some of them having to do with API, if you're a person who is leveraging API. Additionally, I do want to point out that the Microsoft 0365 connector has been deprecated as of March 11th. So if you need to keep collecting Microsoft data via cloud connection, make sure that you set up a connection to Microsoft Purview. And we also are going to have a warning that you're going to see when you're downloading a document from the review window. If it's a large document, it'll recommend doing an export instead of just downloading the document. And then finally, we have lots of visual improvements within this release. And so that's also something that you can check out in the release notes that I've linked in the chat.